And for all the talk of best-of-7 lotteries, it's the second successive Home Nations event that features in the final the top 2 seeds in the tournament. Mark Selby, the defending champion, O'Sullivan seeded second as world champion. 8 frames then to play this afternoon. This could be a real winter warmer for snooker fans. And Neil, we were saying last night about the betting, and Mark Selby starts just marginal favourite.
Yeah, some firms have each of 2 they can't decide, but the ones that can decide one way or another go with this man, and I can only assume, because really there is so little between them, it is on the form of the week. They've been watching. Of the 2, Mark has played the best. He was very, I would say, very proficient last night. He was better than that with 3 back-to-back hundreds. To be honest, O'Sullivan has been flashes of genius. Half the time he's been winging it this week. Let's be brutally honest about it. At different tips on, he's not been in his best, but I think it was an interesting chat last night, wasn't it, Mark Selby? He made 1 or 2 little remarks, I thought, in his interview in the studio about Ronnie. Man he has great respect for, but mentioned the tips and one or 2 excuses being made. I think Selby's really up for this. O'Sullivan, and we're going to find out if he's up for it. I suspect he will be.
Yeah, I think they both see it as a way of testing each other against the other player. There's a lot of respect there. Yeah, I mean, you can pour through all the stats, but I think from Selby's perspective, the fact he's beaten O'Sullivan in the finals of the 3 big ones, the World, the UK and the Masters, speaks volumes, even though every match played, O'Sullivan is ahead 16-10.
One.
Good red, but no obvious colour unless he wants to cut this in. It's quite thin. Yeah, the other thing on the head-to-heads, I suppose, you'd look at is that O'Sullivan has won the last 2. Welsh Open 2020 and then World Championships. That magnificent game of snooker we saw back in August. One of the best I've seen at the Crucible by the odd frame O'Sullivan. Taking this on, but a little cut back can be missed. Very positive shot from Selby, and I think he'll need to be positive today. For the posturing of O'Sullivan and the safety skills of Selby, it'll come down to who makes the best breaks, who pots the most balls. Clearly, that's all that really matters.
Well, he's made 7 centuries in the tournament, including, of course, 3 last night. Could have had more than that as well.
Nine. Ping pong.
Many snooker fans will recall Selby's first ranking final, 2003 Scottish Open, a different tournament to this one, not part of the Home Nations. Lost to David Gray. Has to be said, it wasn't a great final, and there weren't really the signs then that Selby would become the player he has done. But he's done it through sheer hard work, discipline, and of course through his iron temperament.
Thank you. 15.
Yes, if you go back to that final, his cue action was completely different to now. I mean, he had an extraordinary cue action, actually, Selby. It was the longest backswing and I think I've ever seen. The whole thing was out of control. He went away, worked very hard, completely rebuilt his game.
16.
Came back a very different proposition. He was good then, but he's a winner now, a champion.
21.
Any match, I guess you're looking to start well, but certainly a final. And certainly a final against Ronnie O'Sullivan. Ooh, he's missed that one, though. Just as things were looking good in this opening frame.
Yeah, missed it by a way, didn't he? It was the old story with Mark. There's a lot of movement on the shot, but there is anyway, so you can't really put it down to that. It was a difficult cueing shot. That's basically it. It's a fascinating match, this. I couldn't be looking forward to it more. I saw the UK final with Judd Trump and Neil Robertson. That was a clash of two modern-day greats. This one has got something a little bit more spicy to it, I think, than that even. Slightly generational thing. And of course, Ronnie O'Sullivan is the player you'll want to watch play. What a shot that is.
1.
Not on the colour. Couldn't have been more committed to the pot there, could he? Tried to develop something. The pink just going too far. Interesting to see if we do see a different demeanour about O'Sullivan, because even yesterday and in the previous matches, the business with the tip and just his general way, wouldn't be everyone's cup of tea as a snooker fan watching how he's been this week. I think one or two people messaged me and weren't delighted to see him maybe disrespecting the game a bit. I'm not saying that's the case, but certain people thought it. Wouldn't go that far. I don't think we'll see any of that today somehow.
Ronnie O'Sullivan, 1.
No disrespect on that shot. Has he covered the red to the left corner? I think he has. It's the kind of table, it's quite hard to find safety shots. These two, we know the game inside out, have been racking their brains here. Reds are so spread, it's very hard to get it safe. Got a bit lucky there. He lost control of the red. Coming back towards the cue ball, as you saw.
Yeah, it's heart in mouth time for Selby. Sullivan, he said an interesting thing when he was working with us here at Eurosport, commentating and therefore having to watch matches about Selby. He said, I realised, having watched him play other players, it wasn't just me he did it against. It wasn't just me he tried to tie up in knots. That's how he plays. think it gave him a slightly different perspective on Mark Selby as a player. And so he'll be prepared today for whatever sort of match it is. He certainly was at the Crucible. I know we saw some of those maybe crazy shots towards the end before the final started, but he really did dig in that match. Mark Selby led most of the way. O'Sullivan dug in and got the win as Selby knocks that in, so the impasse is broken.
Well, as he kissed the brown into play, I don't know. He deserved a good kiss there because it was a very bold shot. Cuba was steered up the table. Don't know if he can get through to the brown or even whether the green will pass it. You've got to play the green, and it's a tight ask as to whether it goes. It's not an easy shot, actually. Dropping in behind the yellow might be the way forward here. Which brings about, my first thought is, what is O'Sullivan going to do? Is he going to just blitz the cue ball at him, as he did in the World Championships, as we saw? Here's the first time we've had to find out.
Oh, I missed. Out Selby, 4. Yeah.
This looks certain to hit, didn't it? It just catches the jaws and doesn't.
Well, he's trying to get across there and hit it off the second cushion, I think. That's the idea. Well, he was the first time. I think it was worth persisting with that, you know. I don't see why he had to go that route there. I mean, I think he was so close the first time, I couldn't see that it wasn't worth having another pop at that. But that's what he did in the World Championships. Mark won't mind being left chances like this, though. The whole idea maybe was to unsettle, but he won't be unsettled by having the frame at his mercy. Selby won't.
No, I mean, a red had to go down there, the way he played the shot. Like you say, the first time he was just a centimetre away from hitting the red. So Selby's second good chance. Of course, he missed a red earlier on 21.
8.
It's just an intriguing match, isn't it? It's more than just a normal final between two top players. There's a lot of history between them.
9.
It's not just the snooker, it's everything else as well that makes it so fascinating.
That's not a good shot. He definitely played to cannon the right-hand red of the two.
16.
Doesn't mean he won't pop the next ball, but he's a little further away from it than he should be. Now he's moved on to have a look at the plant, but he'll stretch across and play the other red.
Seven.
Likely to play potentially the cannon again onto that red. Certainly won't be hitting this very hard in every place. Managed to get the other side. Anything I will say about the Sullivan shot, there is nothing more frustrating than playing an intricate escape. You get it almost right, but you still end up leaving reds. You've gone down a little meekly, so Sullivan is not going to play it that way. His decision. It worked in the World Championship semi-final. You have to concede that point.
No, that's right. Everyone has their own tactics and they either work or they don't. They did that day. They may well do today as well.
It's a bit of a stretch. Blue is almost in play by side there on this shot. Anyway, well played.
25.
So this black's going to put him 57 in front. We'll need a couple more reds to secure the opening frame. Of course, it was O'Sullivan he beat to win his first ranking title, 2008 Welsh Open. He came from 8-5 down to win 9-8.
32. 33. 40.
So it looks like first blood
41.
Selby. This frame, I think, could be a microcosm of the whole final. It's been fascinating seeing how the two players are approaching it, how they're feeling early on. Selby, you know, missed that red early on, but ultimately you can forget about that.
Yeah, Sullivan pulling that red to the middle at pace and tried to develop the pink and black and other reds. He did the second part, but he didn't get on the colour. That's basically all he did wrong. Then, of course, with Selby rolling up behind the yellow, the old wounds were opened up in the match as well.
55.
Carried on where he left off last night, Selby. Scored heavily.
Well,
Selby,
will O'Sullivan play on? He is coming back to the table, but a 56 from Selby, so it's his frame guaranteed. It is frame one, in fairness. You do see this. Of course, at times during the week he's been carrying on in later frames in the match.
One.
Well, he claims not to practice at the venue on the various practice tables which are there for the players. I think at the start of these Home Nations events, it's not the easiest thing to get a knock on any of the tables. Players everywhere. Low-ranked players full of hope and expectation. Trying to get a bit of practice in. It is not the most tranquil place to practice from. It's not for O'Sullivan. So he's kind of doing his practice in frames that he's lost at the end of them.
8.
Yeah, it's quite difficult to book practice times. It's a bit like trying to get tickets for Glastonbury. You know, they just go very quickly if you're not on the ball. But obviously there's only these two here now.
It's a bit more chaotic than Glastonbury. When you get out there.
15.
Well, he wasn't just trying to pot some balls there. He's trying to get... I mean, I don't even know how many snookers he needs, but it's too many.
Well, it must be 10. He's 66 behind with 27 on.
Two.
It's not going to bother Selby.
I don't know what the record is for the amount of snookers gained in a professional match, but I know that we've seen half a dozen before now on very rare occasions, haven't we?
Well, there are all sorts of stories, aren't there, from the old Norbrecht days of people getting snookers in double figures, but The actual truth of them, we're not sure about.
No, unseen by anybody except the two players. There wouldn't have been too many spectators in some of those booths either watching.
Right, Selby, 9.
Well, he's not conceding.
This is the point, isn't it? I mean, most players would happily hit a couple of balls to just get themselves in order, but he's trying to get the snooker still.
Well, if you've been looking to make a cup of tea but don't want to miss any of the action, this could be the moment.
Five. For Sullivan, 5.
So the sting has been taken out of this frame a little bit. It's been over a while. Interesting that Selby didn't just drop that in there, isn't it? Why did he try and play a snooker back?
Well, this is what happened with O'Sullivan and Alain Robidoux. The match people remember when O'Sullivan played left-handed, Robidoux didn't like it. Last frame, Robidoux needed a load of snookers on the pink, and O'Sullivan, when he had chances to pot it, didn't. So it just carried on for 10, 15 minutes with nothing happening. But that ends it.
6.
Get the feeling Selby will pot the black as well, just to make his point. His break of 56 was the decisive contribution in this frame.
13 in the frame.
So, one down.